Today we celebrate the ascension of Jesus into heaven. And this might seem to be an odd event to focus on as we face this COVID-19 crisis, as we remain concerned about our economy, our environment, what will happen this summer, and will next school year be a normal school year. We could even be accused, I think, of focusing on heaven when our world needs our attention here, thereby proving that our Christian faith is irrelevant to the concerns of our world. But that would be to misunderstand the significance of the ascension of Jesus. You see, it all depends on how you imagine the relationship between heaven and earth. If we assume that earth is down here on the ground floor and heaven is 200 stories up in the clouds and it's a penthouse, then the Ascension celebrates Jesus moving out, leaving us. He went up to heaven and left our world. But if we recover a biblical understanding of heaven and earth as the heavenly and earthly dimensions that interact and intersect with each other all the time, then a very different view of the ascension emerges. You see, the heavenly and earthly dimensions were created by God to work together, to come together. Heaven is not a penthouse way up there. It's the deep dimension, the divine dimension within everything, out of which comes into our world meaning and truth and reality and peace and justice. And our world was created so that the earthly dimension cooperated with the control center in the heavenly dimension. And boy, do things go badly if we ignore the heavenly dimension. And our present modern world has been built on an effort to ignore this deeper dimension, to act as if this is the only world and therefore we are in charge and we make the rules. And when this happens, power wins out. When we ignore the deeper earthly dimension and don't cooperate with God, power wins out. The power to manipulate and control and dominate rules everything. And those who seek to amass this kind of power exploit people and our planet for their own gain. And we have lived through centuries of this. We have, in fact, created a world dependent on fossil fuels that exploits creation so that we can now hear the poor and the earth crying out in anguish. But if heaven and earth are two intersecting dimensions, then Jesus' ascension is about him going into the earthly dimension rather than up. Instead of him leaving our world, he is entered into the heart of reality, and that's what we celebrate today. You see, when Jesus enters into heaven for the first time, the physical earthly dimension enters into the heavenly one. Jesus Christ is the one in whom the heavenly and earthly dimensions are united. In him they now touch. In Jesus, the heavenly and earthly dimensions begin to work together and a new world is born. This, my friends, is what our sacraments and our saints celebrate. Our sacraments and saints celebrate moments when the heavenly and earthly dimensions touch because of Jesus and new things happen. You see, the risen Jesus is found at the heart of creation, drawing the heavenly and earthly dimensions together. He is at the center of reality, and he is our future. It is he who unites us to God. It is he who seeks to unite heaven and earth and each one of us to each other. So anytime that you have been forgiven by God or accepted and understood by God, Christ has made heaven and earth touch. Anytime people are reconciled or forgiven or freed from what enslaves them, Christ has made heaven and earth kiss. Anytime divisions and disputes are overcome and new relationships emerge, Christ has caused the heavenly and earthly dimensions to touch and something new to be born. Now here's the real good news. The risen Jesus shares with us the power that comes from heaven. He says, all power and authority has been given to me at the end of Matthew's gospel. And unlike a dictator, Jesus shares his power with us. So many Christians still operate out of the power of the world and fail to realize that we have been given a new kind of power. The future of our planet depends on us abandoning power that controls and dominates and exploits. The future of our planet, the future of humanity depends on us cooperating with the very power that raised Jesus from the dead. This is a power, a wisdom, a humility, a creativity that comes from God that we need to access. And this power that God sends us, it enables us to live differently with each other and the rest of creation. And our world needs us to live this new way. You know, during the pandemic, one of the things I did was to watch the ESPN series on the basketball great Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And it was exciting to watch him play again. I was amazed as I watched this series how the fans adored him and even worshiped him. They longed to see him and to get close to him and be near his presence. Some even spoke of him as a god. Now there is something in us that needs to adore and worship. There's something in us that needs to be near some person or event that somehow expresses power that's beyond us. This is why we worship celebrities and sports stars. But the thing is this, no matter how close we get to them, they cannot change our lives. No matter how much we try to be near them, they cannot share their power with us and their life with us, nor do they want to. But the risen Jesus does want to share his power with us. He does want to change our lives, and getting close to him does change us and make us different. His ascension, my friends, is the ancient world's way of saying, this is the one to worship. Not celebrities, not sports figures. And we worship Jesus because he is the face and expression of God's fullness. We worship him because he is uniting heaven and earth and restoring and renewing all things. We praise and adore him because he heals us and frees us and shares his empowering power with us. So on this feast of the Ascension, let us participate in the experience of Jesus uniting heaven and earth. Let us live from his power and presence so that we can be part of the new world that he is creating.